It's story time with Mr. Burnett. Story time with Mr. Burnett. It's gotta be something that you like to see. Hey guys, I don't know about you, but on a day like this when it's raining again, cold and rainy, and my town has been pretty much smothered in fog for 4 straight days, I could use some comfort. Green tea. I could use the comfort of a warm cup of green tea and a heartwarming story. That's what I have today. This is The Uncorker of Ocean Bottles. It's an interesting book written by Michelle Cuevas and illustrated by Aaron E. Steed. And, well, let's just get started. The Uncorker of Ocean Bottles. The uncorker of ocean bottles lived alone on a high spot with only one tree for shade. He always kept his eyes on the waves, watching for a glint of glass. He had a job of the utmost importance. It was his task to open any bottles found at sea and make sure they were delivered. Sometimes, to deliver a bottle, he needed only to stroll to the nearest village. Other times, he would journey until his compass became rusty and he felt loneliness as sharp as fish scales. Sometimes the messages were very old, crunchy, like leaves in the fall. Sometimes the messages were written by a quill dipped in sadness. But most of the time, they made people quite happy, for a letter can hold the treasure of a clam-hugged pearl. While the uncorker of ocean bottles loved his job, he couldn't help but wonder if he would ever receive a letter. Truth be told, each time he opened a bottle, a part of him hoped to see his own name winking from the top of the page. But then he remembered that this was about as likely as finding a mermaid's toenail on the beach, for he had no name. He had no friends. He stank of seaweed and salt and fishermen's feet. No one would ever write him a letter. But he still would have liked it just the same. One day, the waves tipped their white postman hats to the uncorker and delivered a bottle with a very peculiar letter inside. I'm not sure you will get this in time, but I am having a party tomorrow, evening tide, at the seashore. Will you please come? Oh dear, said the uncorker. He had no idea who the letter was for, or where to deliver it. But the truth was, he was very curious. He'd never been invited to a party before, and he suspected he might like to go. First, he visited the maker of cakes. "Pardon," said the uncorker, "but do you recognize this print?" The cake maker studied the note. "Don't recognize the script," he finally said, "but oh, how I love a seaside dance." The uncorker moved on. Check out the maker of cakes. I like his hat. He asked the candy shop owner. He asked a woman buying chocolate-dipped treats. He asked a young girl in a green dress. "Sorry," each one sighed, "though I do wish I'd received an invitation to such a party." The uncorker asked a seagull, a sailor, and a one-man band, but nobody could claim the letter. Nobody in the sky or sand or sea. The uncorker. Did you see the power blink off? Did you catch that? The power blinked off. Like, really? Really? Cold, drizzly rain. I'm trying to warm up with a nice, heartwarming book, and now the power's going to blink. Seriously, people? Seriously. Sorry, where were we? The uncorker felt very low. This was the first time he'd been unable to deliver a message. As he fell asleep that night, the uncorker decided to go to the seashore the next day. He would go and apologize to the writer of the note. The uncorker of ocean bottles arrived early, carrying a handful of his favorite seashells. He thought it might be rude to show up uninvited and empty-handed. The seashore was draped in seaweed and starfish. Candles floated in clam shells. There were sand sculptures and umbrellas. "It's you," said the maker of cakes. "How grand," said the candy shop owner. The other guests had arrived already. A woman, a girl in a green dress, a seagull, a sailor, and a one-man band. When the girl in green asked the uncorker of ocean bottles to dance, he said, "I'm not sure I know how, but I'd like to just the same." As they spun across the beach to the water's edge and back again, everyone smiled and kept the beat. The uncorker's heart was a glass vessel filled to the brim. As the stars began to arrive, and the moon as well, the uncorker took out the bottle he had been unable to deliver. "Perhaps," he said, his mouth full of cake. Yes, perhaps I shall try to deliver this again tomorrow. And that is the Uncorker of Ocean Bottles. What a sweet story. I'm reminded how much humans need connections to each other. I'm also sitting here wishing that we had water floating by, that we could just put a note in a bottle and stick it in there and just throw it out there and see who it ended up going to. That would be neat. Fun little story. Really sweet story. It's like a cup of green tea on a foggy, drizzly, cold winter day. It's just a comforting, nice little thing to enjoy. And thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.